$45. What are some things that $45 can buy us today? I need some help here. Some examples. What can you get for $45?
Pair of jeans.
Pair of jeans. Cheap jeans.
Yeah.
What else can we get for $45?
Cheap purse.
A cheap purse. Some groceries?
Yeah, a big grocery.
Yeah. Maybe a movie night out.
Yeah.
No popcorn though. $45 in Cuba is what the average person makes per month. And that is their living standard. For those of you who aren't familiar with Cuba, it's a little island in the Caribbean Sea. So when our family traveled there in February, we went across Canada, down the coast, and landed in the city of Holguin. Our purpose there was to really experience Cuba an authentic way, not in the resorts, acting as a tourist, but we were partnered with a family, and so we got to experience what Cuban life is like for many of the people there. And we got to see what communism has done for the people and against the people. So for example, in communism, most things are shared. And each month they would go to the store and they would be able to get their staples there. For example, rice and beans and a little bit of flour, and that would be given to them. And then their job, it didn't matter if their job was a teacher or a doctor or any kind of worker, their wages are all basically the same, around $45 a month. What was interesting is that the organization that we went with was called World Serve Canada. And it primarily partners with people in countries and helps to support what the church is doing and what the local people are doing. And one of the exciting things that's happening in Cuba is that they are encouraging the people to start up their own businesses to help supplement that which the government can't provide. Because the government finally has come to the point where they've acknowledged that it can't support the people anymore. And so what are the people to do? So for example, World Serve collects donations from people to serve as a loan, as a starting point for people in Cuba. So the person in Cuba would come up with an idea. They would have the dream, as you said. They have a dream of what they would like to do. And then they attend some classes and they get information on how to run a business, and then they learn some skills that they need in order to do that, and then they apply for a loan. And what the loan gives them is the opportunity to go out and purchase the materials that they need in order to have their business come and be fruitful for them. The loan is very specific, though. They have 1 year in order to pay it back. Okay, so after 2 months, they need to start paying it back on a basis. So I want to give you a couple examples because we got to see and meet some people who are going through these micro-business, these microfinance loans and doing something for themselves and their family and their communities. So for example, we went and we got to visit with a man who makes sandals. Beautiful sandals that are all handmade, they're all cut from leather. And when he started, he had 2 or 3 people who were cutting the leather and stitching it together, and they would give it to him and he would piece it together and glue it and put it together for them. With the loan, his loan was $400. With that, he was able to buy more supplies. He was able to expand a little bit more in his backyard. And when we went to visit him, he had 12 to 15 people working for him. And he was able to sell these sandals. I mean, they were still only sold for $5 each. It was incredible. But even that was a huge difference for him and his family. He was able to support his family and help 12 to 15 other families be supportive as well. So it was really exciting to see that. And he was so successful that he actually paid back his entire loan within 6 months. So the organization has a really incredible success rate. 99.7% of the loans that they give out are repaid within that year. And when the loans are repaid, they then can go and serve as a loan for somebody else. So it's kind of the gift that keeps on giving. And so it's a really great way to do that. The story that really touched my family the most, because I have an 11-year-old daughter, was we went into the home of a baker. Now this baker was a woman who, she had literally a hand mixer and a little bowl, and she would make cupcakes. Because in Cuba, they celebrate everything with cake. Everything is celebrated by cake. They have a real sweet tooth. They quite enjoy it. And she had a hand mixer that she would make, and she would do 300 cupcakes every day. She had a client list in which she would be able to sell off her cupcakes. And we walked through her home. So first of all, I need you to imagine this. The bottom floor, when we arrived, her husband was a barber. He was cutting hair downstairs. And we walked up this rebar, rickety staircase in order to get upstairs to where she lived. Then we walked through her small, modest home to the back. And literally it was, I don't know if you could call it an oven, because it was a whole bunch of heating coils that were just shaped and then wrapped in insulation. To me, it looked like an easy bake oven from childhood. It was sitting on a stand of rebar so that if you touched it, it kind of swayed a little bit. And it had a single rack. And she would do 300 cupcakes every day in this oven. And so we asked her, we said, are there any things that are difficult to get? And she said, well, fresh eggs. Fresh eggs are hard to get. And flour. Flour's not always available in the supermarket. And we looked up, and only half of this room had a tin roof on it. And the day before it had poured rain. And so we asked her, we said, well, so when it rains, do you get the day off? She looked at us. No. And so we said, well, what are you going to use your loan for? And she said, I want to be able to finish the roof so that I can continue working. I'd like to be able to buy some more, a bigger bowl, a bigger mixer, so that I can make more cupcakes in order to sell. And so I know that when I support something like microfinance loans in Cuba, I know the people. I know who it's going to. I know how it's going to help them. And that's something that my family can get on board with and be able to support and then get feedback and see how these people are doing. So that's a little taste. Get a taste, make it. A little taste of capitalism in Communist Cuba.